Hello and welcome to the Price Academy bite-sized history videos. This video is introducing the early life of Mary Queen of Scots. Mary was born on the 8th of December 1542 at Linlithgow Palace in Scotland. She was the only legitimate child of the King of Scotland, James V, and his second French wife, Mary of Guise. She was the great-niece of Henry VIII, as her paternal grandmother was Margaret Tudor, Henry's sister. On the 14th of December, 6 days after her birth, she became Queen of Scotland when her father died. As Mary was an infant when she inherited the throne, Scotland was ruled by regents until she became an adult. There were two claims to the regency: Catholic Cardinal Beaton and Protestant Earl of Arran. Arran got it and was regent until 1554, then Mary's mother succeeded him. Henry VIII took the opportunity of the regency to propose marriage between Mary and his son and heir Edward. When Mary was 6 months old, the Treaty of Greenwich was signed, promising Mary would marry Edward when she turned 10. Mary was crowned Queen on September 9th, 1543 at Stirling Castle. The Treaty of Greenwich was rejected by the Scottish Parliament in December, resulting in Henry launching a military campaign called the Rough Wooing to try to impose the marriage of Mary to his son. He sent Edward Seymour, the Earl of Hertford, to raid Edinburgh, and Mary was taken to Dunkeld for safety. In May 1546, the Scots suffered a heavy defeat at the Battle of Pinkie, and Mary's guardians sent her to a priory for 3 weeks and asked the French for help. King Henry II of France proposed to unite France and Scotland by marrying the young queen to his 3-year-old son, Francis. In February 1548, Mary was moved again for her safety to Dumbarton Castle until her marriage treaty was agreed in July. She then, aged 5, was sent to France and spent 13 years at the French court. She arrived in August 1548 at Roscoff in Brittany. Mary was vivacious, beautiful and clever according to accounts. She was a favourite with everyone at court except Henry II's wife Catherine. Mary learnt how to play the lute, compose poetry, do needlework, speak French, Italian, Latin and Greek. She was very friendly with Elizabeth, her future sister-in-law. On April 4th, 1558, Mary signed a secret agreement bequeathing Scotland and her claim to England to the French crown if she died without issue. 20 days later, she married Francis at Notre Dame in Paris, and he became the King Consort of Scotland. In November 1558, Henry VIII's eldest daughter, Mary, died and was succeeded by her only sibling, Elizabeth. Many Catholics believed Elizabeth to be illegitimate and that Mary was the rightful queen, as the senior surviving legitimate descendant of Henry VII through her grandmother, Margaret Tudor. When Henry II died from injuries sustained in a joust on the 10th of July 1559, 15-year-old Francis and 16-year-old Mary became King and Queen of France. However, it was not for long, as King Francis II died on the 5th of December 1560 of a middle ear infection that led to an abscess in his brain. He died in Orleans at this hotel. Catherine de Medici became regent for the late king's 10-year-old brother Charles IX, who inherited the French throne. When Mary returned to Scotland 9 months later, she had lived in France since she was 5 years old. She was regarded with suspicion by her subjects and Elizabeth, the Queen of England. Mary's half-brother, who was illegitimate, the Earl of Moray, became her chief advisor, but he was a Protestant. Mary needed to find a new husband. Elizabeth suggested she marry the English Protestant Robert Dudley, the first Earl of Leicester, which was an interesting suggestion, seeing as he was Elizabeth's favourite courtier. Mary, however, had other ideas. She had recently met Lord Darnley, Henry Stuart, whose parents were the Earl and Countess of Lennox, meaning he was her half-cousin. Mary and Lord Darnley married at Holyrood Palace on the 29th of July 1565. This caused a problem for Elizabeth due to the fact that both Mary and Darnley were claimants to her throne, and so would any children they had. Before long, Darnley grew arrogant and demanded to be co-sovereign with Mary, and the right to keep the Scottish throne if he outlived his wife. Mary refused, and their marriage grew strained. Mary fell pregnant, but Darnley became jealous of her friendship with Private Secretary David Rizzio. On March 9, 1566, Darnley and a group of Protestant nobles murdered Rizzio in front of pregnant Mary at a dinner party in Holyrood Palace. Mary fled and ended up giving birth to son James on the 19th of June 1566 in Edinburgh Castle. Mary clearly had a problem with her second husband, and the idea of divorce was discussed with leading nobles. However, in February 1567, in the early hours of the morning, an explosion at a house in Kirk O Fields killed Darnley, and he was found dead in the garden. Lord Bothwell and Mary were among those under suspicion, but Bothwell was generally believed guilty. Bothwell abducted Mary on the 24th of April, and he took her to Dunbar Castle. By the 15th of May, they were married after divorcing his first wife, Jean Gordon, 12 days previously. Mary was now not very popular with the Scottish peers, who turned against her. She was eventually imprisoned at Lochleven Castle and forced to abdicate in favour of her one-year-old son on the 24th of July. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, to like and subscribe it, and watch out for part 2. You can also follow me at Little Miss History 81 at TanyaAlex38, or you can join in at Facebook at facebook.com TanyaAlex38.